Hi, everyone, and welcome to Speak English with Us. I'm Holmes.
And I'm Melody. We are so happy you are here with us today.
Okay, before we do anything else, I want to ask you something. Have you ever looked at yourself and said, I am so lazy? Maybe you started learning English and then stopped. Maybe you had a big dream and never did anything about it. And you thought, what is wrong with me? Why am I so lazy?
I think a lot of people feel that way, Holmes.
Right. And today, Melody and I want to tell you something important. Something that honestly changed the way I think about myself. Are you ready?
I think our listeners are very ready.
You are not lazy. You are scared. And those two things, they are very, very different.
Ooh, I love that. Let's talk about it. So, today's episode is about something that I think almost every person has felt at some point in their life. That feeling of, I want to do something, but I just don't. And then we blame ourselves for it.
Exactly. We say, I'm lazy. I'm not disciplined. I have no willpower. But Melody, here's what I believe and what the research actually shows. Most of the time, it is not laziness at all.
It is fear.
It is fear. Fear dressed up to look like laziness.
And today, we are going to talk about 3 big fears that stop people from living their dreams. We are going to look at why people give up, and we are going to give you 3 small, practical steps you can start using today.
And of course, because this is Speak English with Us, we are going to teach you some beautiful, natural vocabulary along the way.
Words you can actually use in real conversations.
So let's get into it.
Okay, Holmes, let's start at the beginning. I want to talk about something called a label. Now, label, L-A-B-E-L. A label is a word or phrase that we use to describe someone or ourselves, like a sticker we put on a person.
Right, so I can say, she is a hard worker. That is a label. Or I can say, he is shy. Also a label.
Exactly. And labels can be positive, but they can also be very, very dangerous. Because once we put a label on ourselves, we start to believe it is the truth.
And the most dangerous label of all? I am lazy.
Holmes, can I ask you something personal?
Of course.
Have you ever called yourself lazy?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I used to say it all the time. I remember when I first started trying to build a new habit. I wanted to wake up early, exercise, read more, and for about 3 days I did it. And then on the 4th day, I hit the snooze button 2, maybe 3 times. And I just thought, see, this is me. I am lazy. I will never change.
And how did that make you feel?
Terrible. Because once you believe the label, you stop trying. Why try if the result is already decided?
That is so important, and I think so many of our listeners know exactly that feeling. You try something, it does not go perfectly, and then the label wins. See? I knew I couldn't do it.
Right. And here's the thing. If you call yourself lazy long enough, you start acting like a lazy person. Not because you are one, but because the label becomes your identity. Your identity, that's the story you tell about who you are.
So let me make sure I understand. A label is a word we use to describe ourselves, and when we repeat a label, it becomes our identity, the story of who we are. Is that right?
That's exactly it, Melody.
Beautiful. Okay, so if the label is wrong, what is the truth?
The truth is, most of the time, it is not laziness, it is fear.
Okay, so let's talk about fear. Now, I want to be honest with our listeners here. Fear is not always obvious. Sometimes fear is loud. Your heart beats fast, your hands shake. But sometimes fear is very quiet. It just looks like not doing things.
Exactly. And there are 3 specific fears that I think most people feel, but nobody really talks about them. Melody, can I share them?
Please, I would love to hear this.
Okay, fear number 1, and this is the big one, fear of failure.
Failure. Failure. Failure means you tried something and it did not work out the way you hoped, like failing a test or starting a business that doesn't succeed.
And fear of failure sounds like this. What if I try and I still can't do it? What if I study English for a year and I still can't speak fluently? What if I look stupid? So what do? We don't try at all. Because if you never try, you can never fail.
Oh, wow. That is such a painful trap.
It really is. And I lived in that trap for a long time, Melody. I wanted to do so many things, start things, but I would think, what if it doesn't work? And then I would do nothing. And then I called myself lazy. But actually, I was just afraid.
Holmes, that took courage to share. And I think our listeners are going to feel that deeply. Because I believe fear of failure is one of the most common human experiences in the world.
Okay, fear number 2. This one is a little different. Fear of judgment. 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 Judgment means the opinion that other people form about you, their decision about whether you are good or bad, smart or not.
And fear of judgment sounds like, what if I speak English and my accent is wrong? What if I make a grammar mistake and people laugh? What if I tell someone my dream and they say, that's not realistic?
Exactly. So we stay quiet. We don't speak. We don't share. And again, we call it laziness. But it's not laziness. It's the fear of what other people will think.
You know, I think this fear is especially strong for English learners because speaking a foreign language in front of people, it feels so vulnerable. 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 To be vulnerable means to be open to being hurt, to show your imperfections to the world.
Right. And vulnerability takes courage, real courage.
Okay, fear number 3. Holmes, you mentioned this one to me before we recorded, and it really surprised me.
Yeah, this is the one nobody talks about. Fear of hope.
Fear of hope. Can you explain that for our listeners?
So imagine this. You have a dream, and you've had this dream for a long time. And every time you tried before, it didn't work out. So your brain learned something. Hope is dangerous because when I hope and then I fail, the pain is terrible. So your brain starts to protect you. It says, don't hope too much. Don't believe too much. Because if you believe and then it falls apart again, that's the worst feeling of all.
Oh, so the fear of hope is really the fear of being disappointed again.
Exactly. And I think for a lot of people, especially people who have tried to learn English before and stopped, this is real. You start to think, what if I try again and I quit again? What does that say about me?
Holmes, I want to stop here for a second. I want to speak directly to everyone who's listening right now.
Go ahead.
I want to say if you are feeling any of those 3 fears right now, fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of hope, I want you to know that is not weakness. That's humanity. Every single person on this planet, every great athlete, every fluent English speaker, every successful person you admire, they have all felt exactly what you are feeling. The difference is not that they were not afraid. The difference is that they moved forward anyway.
That is so beautifully said, Melody. And here's a word I want you to remember. Courage. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. Courage means you are afraid and you do it anyway.
Courage. Say that with us. Courage.
Courage. Perfect.
Hey, before we keep going, if you're finding this conversation helpful, we would be so grateful if you took just a second to subscribe to our channel. It really helps us keep making content like this every single week.
And if this episode is resonating with you, share it with one person, a friend who might need to hear this today. You never know whose day you might change.
Okay, let's keep going because this is where it gets really good.
All right, so here's something I want to say, and I want to say it directly. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Lazy people do not listen to English podcasts for 20 minutes. Lazy people don't push through something difficult. Lazy people don't keep trying after failing before. And you're here right now. That's proof. That's real, undeniable proof that you are not lazy.
I love that so much. Let me say it a different way. Think about what it takes to be here right now. Maybe English is not your first language. Maybe this is difficult to follow. Maybe you had to choose between this and something easier, a TV show, social media, and you chose this. That's not laziness. That's commitment.
Commitment. Commitment. Commitment means you made a decision and you are following through with it. You're staying with something even when it's not easy.
And you know what, Holmes? I think we often forget to count the courage it takes to just show up.
Right. Progress is not always loud. Sometimes progress is quiet. Sometimes progress is just being here, choosing to keep going. One more day.
One more episode.
One more word.
That's it.
Okay, Melody, let's get practical because I know our listeners, they want something they can actually do, not just feel inspired and then forget about it tomorrow.
Absolutely. So we have 3 small steps. And Holmes, I want to be very clear here. These steps are small on purpose because small steps are the ones that actually.
I love that because I am lazy is a dead end, but I am scared, that is something you can work with. You can ask, what am I scared of? And then you can do something about it.
Exactly. Step 2, the 2-minute rule. Now, I want you to think about one thing you have been avoiding, one thing you want to do but keep not doing. Maybe it is practicing your English speaking. Maybe it is recording yourself. Maybe it's writing one sentence in English. Now, just do it for 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
2 minutes. Because here's the secret. The hardest part is always starting. Once you start, you almost always keep going. The 2-minute rule is not about doing it perfectly. It's about breaking the spell.
Breaking the spell. I really love that phrase because fear really is like a spell. It freezes you. And action, even tiny action, breaks it.
Exactly. And step 3, celebrate finishing. Not perfection, finishing. When you get to the end of this episode, celebrate. You did something. You showed up. You listened. That matters.
And I think this is something our culture gets wrong. We celebrate results, we celebrate winning, but we almost never celebrate the person who sat down and tried, even when it was hard.
So tonight, before you sleep, I want you to think of one thing you did today, one small act of courage, and say to yourself, I did that. I am proud of myself.
Self-compassion. Self-compassion. Self-compassion means being kind to yourself, treating yourself the same way you would treat a good friend who is struggling.
And if you can be kind to yourself, if you can replace the label lazy with human and trying, everything starts to change.
Melody, I want to connect all of this back to our English journey because I think everything we talked about today, the fear, the labels, the courage, it applies so perfectly to learning a language.
Oh, absolutely. Say more.
So, how many of our listeners have stopped learning English before? How many have said, I tried and it didn't work? How many have called themselves bad at languages, not smart enough, too old?
I think many of them have. Honestly, I have too, in a different language.
And here's what I want to say. You were not lazy. You were scared. Maybe you were scared of making mistakes. Maybe you were scared of sounding funny. Maybe you were scared of hoping and then failing again.
And the beautiful thing is, you came back. You are here. That's your courage showing up.
English fluency is not a talent you are born with. It's not something reserved for special people. It's the result of small steps every day. Choosing to listen, choosing to speak, choosing to try one more time.
And just like the 3 steps we shared, change the label, do 2 minutes, celebrate finishing, the same works for English. Don't aim to be perfect, aim to be present. Show up. That's enough.
That's more than enough.
Being consistent is so much more important. Try to listen or speak a little bit every single day, even 2 minutes.
Even 2 minutes.
Okay, time for our word tour. Let's review all the key vocabulary from today's episode. Are you ready, Holmes?
I am ready. Let's do this.
Word 1, label, a word or phrase we use to describe ourselves or others.
Word 2, identity, the story you tell about who you are.
Word 3, failure, when something does not go the way we hoped.
Word 4, judgment, the opinion that other people form about you.
Word 5, vulnerable, open to being hurt, showing your imperfections.
Word 6, courage, moving forward even when you were afraid.
Word 7, commitment, making a decision and following through.
Word 8, self-compassion, being kind to yourself, especially when you're struggling.
8 beautiful words. Write them down. Try to use one of them in a sentence today.
And let us know in the comments which word was new for you. Which one is your favorite?
Before we say goodbye, we want to do something a little different today. Holmes, I want our listeners to repeat something after us.
Great idea. Everyone, wherever you are right now, I want you to say this out loud. Ready?
I am not lazy.
I am not lazy.
I am brave enough to try.
I am brave enough to try.
And I'm closer than I think.
And I'm closer than I think.
Say it again if you need to, because it's true. It has always been true.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. It genuinely means so much to both of us.
If this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave us a comment below. We would absolutely love to read about how you're feeling after today.
Keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.
Happy learning!